Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of House of League. I'm James Smales. I'm joined by my two compatriots again, the national treasure that we're now calling him, that is our rugby league editor, Matthew Shaw.
That was much better than last week.
Better than last week?
Thank you.
I thought you'd enjoy national treasure.
I like that.
And the most boring man in rugby league, as we've now christened him, Josh McAllister. Josh, you well?
Yeah. Apart from that, I am well. Yeah.
Great.
Hang on. Let's just start. What did you eat this weekend? What foods did you sample this weekend?
Not a chicken korma.
It's moving on in the world.
Nothing exciting that I can think of from the top of my head.
That's not surprising,
And
is it?
here we go. Breaking news of the week. Josh has nothing exciting to tell us. What is exciting is we are on the eve almost of the new Super League season. Season got underway for the top flight clubs last week with the Challenge Cup, but now here we are with the league season about to start. There's real excitement. There's real excitement amongst our team here at All Out Rugby League, mainly because we've got some games to report on.
Games that matter.
And that long 4 months or whatever it is of the off season, finally we can put in the past. Before we get to the Super League season, and we will in depth this week, we're going to go club by club. We're going to get the thoughts of Matt and Josh and their predictions for the season. I'm wise and sensible and don't give a prediction on these things.
Are you bottling it?
I'm hosting. You two are here for the information. I'm just here to ask the questions.
I think I'm just here to be amused, to be honest with you.
You are. That is correct.
2 weeks in.
You are the comedic value of the group, of the show.
We can't find any other value from you at the minute, Josh. It's for you to prove otherwise. But we are going to go club by club. We will go into detail. We'll go through the ins and outs. We'll go through the big talking points at your club, if your club being a Super League team. But before we get to that, we'll just round up the week's news. It's been a relatively quiet news across the board in Super League, apart from that, the club that's dominated the headlines through the off-season, which was Salford Red Devils. The takeover, I want to say it's gone through. It hasn't gone through, but it's on the cusp of going through. Matt, give us the latest on it.
So they announced Dario Berta as the guy that will be fronting, I suppose, the new consortium.
He's the face of it.
The face of it. Albeit I don't think we'll see a lot of him. I think Chris Irwin has been appointed as CEO. Chris is very highly respected in the game. He's come from Exeter City. He was Chief Commercial Officer there. He had been at Salford before. I think that's good news because he's a good guy.
And important for the fans to see some sort of link to the past, and not the recent past, but the older past, and a familiar face that they can approach.
I think so. So I don't think we'll see a great deal of Dario Berta. I do believe there are people behind him that will be putting a lot of money in. The identity of those people hasn't come to light yet. There are a few names. Some Tongans are apparently involved, doing research on that as we speak. But the upshot is it's a step forward. They have now been announced. You mentioned it hasn't quite gone through just yet, which is because it's still subject to RFL approval, and that needs a fit and proper persons test. Let's be honest, they'll pass that. I could pass that because has anyone ever not passed a RFL fit and proper persons test? But the sustainability cap's still in place because they've got to sort out the funding advance, which they got, which is 500 grand. That needs sorting, and basically they've got to put some liquidity into the club.
There's I's to dot, there's T's to cross.
Absolutely. There's no reason to think there's anything untoward or any reason to worry. They obviously had to play under the sustainability cap last week, but it's a process. These things don't happen in a jiffy. So, I think it's great news for Salford. It should mean, and I'm sure it will do, we'll learn more about their intentions, I'm sure, in the days and weeks to come. But it should be an opportunity for them to finally look beyond next month all the time. They should be able to have a long-term future.
And there's more for us to go in depth on this in the weeks to come, as you said. The intentions we're pretty certain include the purchase of the stadium.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot more investment, but these are all things that are going to have to come in the days and the weeks. The first thing is, clearing the debts, passing that fit and proper person test, and getting the sustainability cap up. and just running it again as a Super League club.
For sure. That's, the winter's been really tough for Salford and the supporters who've had a lot of pain in that. But what I will say for Salford is they held the nerve and they didn't have to sell any players. The players didn't want to go, so the players are happy. I think there will be some questions about how it was handled from a RFL perspective. I think the RFL played a very risky game, but at the same time, that's sort of paid off right now, because if this all does go through and is ratified, well, you haven't got a team that's completely depleted and in a worse spot. So, let's see how the next few days play out. As I said, no reason to think there's any cause for concern. The hope is, of course, that the sustainability cap is lifted by Thursday when they announce the squad to play Saints on Saturday. As it stands right now, still in place. I do believe that Chris Irwin is due to be in the RFL. We're recording on Tuesday. He's due to be in the RFL today to try and get those restrictions lifted.
Okay. Moving away from Salford, the other big news at the weekend was the Challenge Cup. And Josh, you were at Sheffield and Wigan. We're not interested in that, so we'll just leave you there. And me and you'll just carry on talking here, Matt. You were at the big game, the one that we said 2 weeks ago and the one that we said last week. It just looks, it looked written for a shock. Brian Noble back at the Bulls. They've got a squad there that's not far off a Super League, a low-level Super League squad. It's not far off.
Fair.
Against the Castleford team that are doing it hard, with injuries, with concerns, that have had a really tough pre-season. It was almost, it'd have been a surprise almost if Castleford had have won. That such was the way it seemed that it was set up for Bradford to win this game. You were there, you talk us through that.
It had all the ingredients for a shock, as you say. What surprised me was the nature of how, let's be honest, how easy it was for Bradford in that first half. We see these games a lot, though, in the Challenge Cup, where the Championship side really struggles to get out of their own half, but they defend resiliently and they throw everything at it. Eventually, they crumble because the other team's just fitter and stronger.
Fitness, isn't it? Yeah.
This was one of those games, but Bradford looked like the Super League team and Castleford looked like the Championship side. I can't remember a game between a Championship and Super League team before where the Championship side has physically dominated the Super League counterparts like that. And Castleford's defensive detail through the middle of the park was awful. They had some players that were really passive and weak in contact. They had others that were putting good shots on, but were dropping off tackles, so Bradford were offloading. It was so easy for Bradford to get upfield. Likewise, Castleford just couldn't get out of their own half. They had no go forward whatsoever. 17-0 was absolutely a fair reflection at half time. Castleford, fought back a bit. To the credit, they showed some guts there, because Eds could have been down. They very nearly took it to golden point. I felt for Texoy because he got injured scoring a good try. Missed the kick. But that would have papered over the cracks if Bradford had managed to steal that game, because
Castleford had managed to steal the game.
If Castleford had, apologies, get things wrong sometimes. Because they were really, really poor. And the worry for me is I don't think it was an attitude thing. You watch games sometimes and the Super League team can look like they're not really taking it seriously.
They can look a little lazy. They're not being lazy, but they can look a little lazy.
They're going through the motions. They thought it'd be easier than it is. I didn't see that from Castleford. I thought the effort was there. I just thought they got completely beat up. And that is a big worry for a club that have very openly been trying to sign props. It reinforced why. They've been trying to get Jack Ormondroyd to no avail. So that is a massive concern. And then off the top of that, the outside backs didn't do the job bringing the ball out. They've not really anyone to come back.
No.
They've got Lewis Senior, but he's out for a long time. They've got Sam Hall, Jason Gary, Alex Mellor. Well, they're not sorting your yardage and your defensive intensity out. I'm worried. Off the back of that, I am very, very worried for Castleford this year.
Right, so we had the shock between, if we're calling it a shock, between Bradford and Castleford. There wasn't any other really big shocks elsewhere in the Challenge Cup, but some really good performances. And I think the RFL and the clubs got out of this what they wanted to by changing up the format. We saw a really good performance by York against Kingston Rovers. We saw your boys did all right in Halifax. Hunslet
Very well.
did well, did really well. What have you made of the actual round and some of the games, Josh?
Yeah, I think even Midlands Hurricanes give Salford a bit of a scare. I think they scored 12
Yeah.
points. We talked about last week, didn't we? The revamp and amateur clubs not being able to host the Super League clubs. But actually, now it's been and gone. It's been a success, really. You see that the days out that the amateur clubs have had at Craven Park, we saw the crowd there, the 5,000 plus. Headingley, them enjoying that day out. I think a success overall. I think, it was a bit of doom and gloom headed into it because of not being able to host amateur clubs, not being able to host Super League clubs. But yeah, a real success, and hopefully that can just progress, maybe a few minor tweaks here and there. But no, I'm all up for it. I think it's been really good this weekend.
The Craven Park story is just
Unbelievable.
We're talking about an attendance here that outstripped what Hull Kingston Rovers actually got last year in the competition. I think estimates of around 5,500. So many walked up to the stadium that they had to open the gates. Unfortunately, that meant that people getting in for free. I know there's been calls from both West Hull, who obviously it was their home game, but great to see St Helens back in that as well and saying, look, if you got in for free, we're talking about the lifeblood of this community club here. Anything you can, contribute towards that's great. But that's unbelievable numbers. To see the stadium so full like that for a West Hull St Helens game on a day when Hull FC, which would normally be West Hull's kind of heartland there, also kicking off at the same time.
That was the point I was going to make. What would it have been if Hull FC hadn't have been playing? Look, I thought some of the criticism of this revamp was so harsh. A lot of it seemed to begin when the draw was made, and it was because there'd been so many called off games. There was like 4 different, if you remember, there was this team or that team, this team or that team against this team. What could they have done to avoid that? That was just unfortunate. Not a lot that could be done there. And then the amateur club has not been playing at home. Let me put this back to people who are saying that. I think West Hull might have been able to have about 600 there.
Yes.
If they'd have played at home.
Johnny Whiteley ground, yeah.
Do you think they would have preferred that, or if everything had gone to plan, have the revenue from 5,500 people at Craven Park?
Yeah, exactly.
So now optically, we'd all prefer to see Jack Wells be down at West Hull because that, visually that's amazing, isn't it? Of course it is, and I get that. But I think we're really nitpicking at something that for me has been a massive success. York recorded the best ever crowd. Midlands recorded the best ever crowd. We had the shock. We had a few scares along the way.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, not every crowd was fantastic. I was a bit underwhelmed with Bradford. They didn't even get 3,000 for the Cas game. I thought that was poor. Halifax didn't draw a big crowd to play Catalan, which I thought was poor. But all in all, I think it's a huge success for the Cup. And I think it gives us great narratives because the Super League clubs paid so much respect by playing largely strong teams.
Yes.
It's given us some great narratives going into the season. I think it ticked all the boxes.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I think it's been a really good success. Before we get into our club by club preview, let's just tick a few more boxes, as you were saying there, in terms of things to look out for this season. First off, a couple of new rules. Got the Captain's Challenge. Just talk to people about the new rules that we're going to see this season in Super League.
So Captain's Challenge is the main. There's a few little ones that we'll go into. But Captain's Challenge is the main edition, and it's what it says on the tin. The captain can challenge a call that they don't like. If the referee's given something, it then gets reviewed. If they are successful, it gets overturned. If it's wrong, they lose the right to do it for the rest of the game. I'm all for it because I think it takes some grief off the ref, because if the players complain, they can just go, "Well, challenge it then." And that in the NRL, that shuts them up pretty quickly quite a lot of the time.
Yes.
So I'm fine with it. Adds a bit of drama and something a bit different. I'm okay with it. Few other ones, the short dropout, almost encouraging short dropouts now. Obviously, before, if it didn't make the 10 or it went out on the full, it would be a penalty in front of the sticks.
Yep.
Now it's just to play the ball. So Still not great, but
It's cutting down the danger of it not working. It's reducing the risk.
Yes, because
it's good. We're going to see more attacking play, hopefully.
If you're 6 points behind, it's a risk going for the shot if you don't nail it because they can kick the goal, then the 2 scores up. Well, that doesn't
Game
happen.
over, yeah.
So I'm all for that. The other big change, really, not so much of rules, is the disciplinary. And the disciplinary will essentially, everyone will now have driving licence. You get points on your licence when you make infringements, if that's what we want to call them. It will punish repeat offenders because the repeat offenders will ultimately accrue loads of points, get bans. There's all these thresholds. The best, without me going on all day, the best place to go is to our website. We've got a big explainer that will tell you everything you need to know.
I love them sort of plugs.
I know what I'm doing.
There you go. alloutrugbyleague.co.uk. Head there for all your Super League news throughout the season. Let's get stuck into it. Club by club, Super League guide with our thoughts, predictions, and everything else. Got a little list. I'm going to go through some of the ins and outs. There's a lot, so I won't mention them all. You'll probably notice I'll swerve some of the ones of people whose names I'm struggling to pronounce.
No, these are the ones. Come on.
No. Let's start. We'll do it alphabetically. I think that's probably the best way to do it. So we'll start with Castleford Tigers. At least got that right. I had to think for a minute there whether it was Catalan or Castleford. We're talking coming in the likes of Innis Senior, Lewis Senior, Zach Cheery. Got that
Cheery?
Right? How is it?
Cheery.
Cheeny.
Where have you got Cheery from? C-I-N-I.
Oh, because I can't read on my own phone. We've got Judah Rimbo from PNG.
What about the back rower?
Jeremiah Simbikin.
Oh, he's done well.
Dan Okora, obviously coming in on loan from Warrington. Going out, a list. Corey Hall, Danny Richardson, Paul McShane. There was Hindmarsh, there was Miller, there was Lewis Johnson. Lots gone out as well. Big change round at Castleford. New investment coming in. A really difficult pre-season. I'm going to come to you first, Josh, and then let Matt come off his long run on where they're at Castleford. From what you've seen and the little bits of pre-season, what you've heard, do you think, as a lot of people suspect, they're in for a really difficult campaign?
I think so. I think if you look at our predictions on All That Rugby League, Castleford are there at the bottom, aren't they? And you go on social media and Castleford are being predicted at the bottom. They've got a new look spine that have got a gel. I think Tex Hoy played in the halves against Bradford. It just looks like, alarm bells might be ringing before the Super League season's even kicked off for Castleford. And we talked about the sort of pack and they were sort of bullied by Bradford. And you actually look at the squads that were announced for that Challenge Cup game and it almost wasn't a shock. I know we call it a shock because it's Super League versus Championship, but you look at the squads and you think, well, it wasn't really much of a shock because Bradford had that sort of star talent and Castleford were missing only a couple of players.
They weren't missing loads.
Yeah, they were only missing a couple of players. That was generally their Super League squad and they just didn't look up for it. And now Odsal Stadium, the pitch and all that's a bit different than what they're going to play in come May, April at Super League grounds. Yes, but they were bullied. So, I think it could be a struggling season for Castleford Tigers and Danny Maguire.
Yeah. Go on.
How long have we got?
Right, I'll be diplomatic. I think once the tracks are a little bit harder, Castleford will be better.
Get better. Yep.
I think the first couple of months could be very, very ugly for them based on what I've seen. They've been so poor in the pre-season. You can turn a blind eye, can't you, to pre-season games because that's what they are. And we've seen it over and over. Teams can be rubbish and then they can be good when the season gets going. They were rubbish against Wakefield. They played okay against Hull FC, but then that Bradford game, the alarm bells after ring. The concern, and Castleford haven't shied away from this. They've been trying to sign props. The pack just doesn't look anywhere near where it needs to be. It's a massive concern. I think they've got a decent spine. Rimbu, I think, will prove to be a good player, but I just think they're really lacking in the middle. And until they fix that, I think they'll drop down the league. I'll be honest. I haven't got them bottom. But
what sort of player do you think they're missing in the middle? Is it size and power? Is it also a little bit of agility in there? Somebody that's got a little bit of size but has got a little bit of footwork about them as well. What if you're doing the recruitment, which, let's be honest, You'd love to. You'd love
And
to
I
get
should,
in there.
and I would be very good at it. By the
Yeah,
way.
I know you'd absolutely love to get in there and do that. So if you're doing the recruitment now, you're the recruitment manager at Castleford and you're looking in, the fringes of Super League clubs, or you're looking in the second grade over in Australia, what sort of player are you looking for to add into that Castleford pack?
Right, there's two, and they're both in the middle. They need a middle who can skittle a few players, create some ruck speed.
Right.
Because when they actually created some speed around the ruck, Rimbu looked good. Assy with a bit more space looked quite neat. They need someone who can do that. They need someone in the middle who's going to set some defensive intensity, because there was nothing there from what I've seen. Now, whether they are hard to come by, they just need a very good starting.
That tends to be an experienced head that sets that intensity.
They need a good
That is tough
starting
to
middle.
find.
So a good starting middle. So if you were looking at Super League, someone like a Sawaso Su is what they are missing. Someone like a Luke Yates, that's what I mean by a starting middle, who's going to defensively keep them nice and compact and not make it easy for the other team. So they need middles on either side of the game to come in. I think that would make a big difference, but very, very difficult to come by.
Do you foresee any way that they can finish outside of that bottom 2 and 3, which I think everybody has put them in? Do you think, can you see any sort of instance where we might be surprised? Let's say maybe they just add one middle or maybe two, and then you look at, like you said, with Rimbu and Tex, or there's a player in there, and think, do you know what? Actually, it could click.
No. Not to get out of bottom 3.
Great positivity for Castleford fans.
Not to get out of bottom 3. No.
Okay. No. Just people in Castleford just switching off now.
That's it. We've
Smells
lost
is
listeners there.
desperately looking at Josh. Come on, Josh. Help me out.
Yeah, so he's got
That
to come back in.
unsubscribe button is getting it's getting hammered there. No, and I think, to be honest, I don't think you're saying anything that we're not hearing from other people as well. I'm just saying, is there any sort of positivity? Is there anything you can see, Josh, that you think there's a little something there for Danny Maguire to work with?
I want to say yes for that exact reason, but I think I'm on the same boat as Matt here. I think after watching the game against Bradford, I think they're going to struggle this year. I mean, the only thing is they've got is a legendary halfback as their head coach. He wants players that will want to play for him. Hopefully, all the players want to play for him, but it's about that star quality.
He even alluded to it himself post game. He said, "We've got a lot of players who can play nice, but we've got to do the tough stuff." And I just don't think, as a collective, the thing is as well, people talk about players that are out. Alex Mellor is a good player, but is he going to do any of those things that Castleford are lacking? That's not really his traits. You've got Lewis Senior, okay in yardage, might help a little bit there. Jason Gary, great finish, but he's not a yardage man. Yeah. You've got Rowan Milnes. Well, if playing behind a beaten pack, what can a half do?
You've got to, in this competition, as well as anywhere, but you've got to earn the right to play.
Yes.
And if they haven't got the men to earn them the right, as it stands at the minute, they're always going to be up against it.
That's exactly where the problem is.
It's your pack, isn't it? That's why Wigan, Hull KR, that's why they do so well, because that pack gets them on the front foot. At Wigan, Luke Thompson, Patrick Mago, and then the likes of Harry Smith, Ben French, Jay Field can do their thing the same at the stars of KR. It's all about the pack, man.
Now, you're saying it's all about the pack. That takes us in some ways perfectly into Catalans Dragons. This is a club that in their entire existence in Super League has been built around a big physical unit in the middle. It's been about that French kind of grit, especially when you go over there and it's in stifling conditions and you're coming up against massive athletes in the middle of the park. This year, I'm not saying they haven't got some big men, but everybody seems to be a little bit excited about some of the flair players that Catalan have added rather than that grit. You especially, Josh, who everywhere I look is telling me Catalans are going to be the team to watch. Catalans are going to be brilliant. You're waving your Catalan flag. I think you had one of them car flags as you pulled into our Manchester office.
He gets one trip to Perpignan.
Yeah. I was going to say, I really enjoyed my trip to France last year. What can I say?
No, joking aside, in our Super League season predictions, you did say, not that Catalan were going to go and win everything, although that's the way I might spin the story. No, you said they're going to be one of the teams that you are really looking forward to watching this season. Obviously, I'll just talk through some of the people they've added, but you look at who's coming in, Tommy Makinson, Ollie Partington. You're talking Luke Keary. I mean, they've added some real quality. I mean, I could keep going on, but they've added some real quality. They've had some, put my teeth in. Mike McMeekin, Tom Johnston, Jordan Abdul, Tom Davis, Mickey Michelora. They've had some, they've had some notable departures. There's been a really change of the guard at Catalan this year, but they've added some excitement in there. Steve McNamara's gone with, he's rolled the dice a little bit with some of this recruitment, I think.
Yeah, there's big changes. I think my prediction was that they're the ones to watch for entertainment, and people that watch them at the
He's
Shea.
backtracking.
Yeah, no. Well, that's what I put in my prediction. The ones to watch, yes, and the ones to watch for entertainment. I think people that might watch them at the Shea and watch them on the Sportsman might say otherwise, but that's a whole different ball game. It was the first game.
It's the same ball game.
It
just had a different name on it.
It takes time for them to mix, but the players you named there, Luke Keary is an NRL veteran. Played for Ireland at the World Cup. Just to put that out there, but he's a great player. They brought in that experience, got that flair. He'll put him around. I think Tavita Pangai Jr. they've added to the forward pack. I mean, he's a brilliant player that's played in the NRL.
Yes.
Tommy Makeson, as you say, on the wing.
We haven't even mentioned Elliot Whitehead yet.
Elliot Whitehead. There's some massive names.
Coming back from Canberra. Yeah. As I said, some real excitement. So do you think, because it was a really difficult year for them last year, Catalan, do you think we're going to see a marked improvement on the league ladder from Catalan as well as a little bit of excitement?
Yeah, I think so. I was trying to get my phone up there for predictions, but I've got them in top 6. I think they'll want to quickly...
Where in the top 6? I've got them in top... I want to put the actual position here.
Put me under pressure here. I've got them here at 6.
You've got them
so
at 6.
They make it, yeah.
So
they make it.
You've got
5,
them squeezing
6,
it.
5, 6.
So the team that you're most excited about, you've got just squeezing
just
into
because
6.
I said good for entertainment. 4, 5, 6. 4,
There's
5,
been
6.
a lot of backtracking here already.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6. I'm just trying to get that.
Welcome
invite
to
back to
All Out
Perkin
Rugby League
on you. Perkin on the queue.
Backtrack, the new series. All right, while you think about what opinion you're going to change in the next 2 minutes on the next one, Mark, let me come to you on Catalan. We talked about the recruitment there. We're poking fun at Josh. He's right though. There is some real excitement about their signing. If you look at the signings and the quality brought in, pound for pound, you could probably argue it's the most exciting across all the competition.
It's the most high-profile recruitment drive in the history of Super League. It's the names that they've signed that I can't think of a bigger recruitment drive in history for one season. I think it's that good. The big question is, does it gel? It should do, because the players there should simply be good enough to...
And the experienced players that have been all over the competitions on both sides of the world.
Absolutely. I have one concern on Catalans, and that is Luke Keary and Sam Tompkins. Tompkins is already injured. He obviously came back, missed a lot of when he came back with the hamstring injury.
This is a player that's already retired once.
For sure. He's injured again, done his hamstring again. I think he's going to miss quite a bit of time at the start of the season. You've got Luke Keary, who's had his fair share of injury issues. Didn't play at the weekend against Halifax, and his absence was very telling.
Yeah,
there was no kicking game. There was no kicking game at all. Theo Farge has now broke his ribs. We know he's got a good short kicking game. These are only short-term things, but long-term concerns for me are Tompkins and Keary. If those two are down and don't play a lot of the season, I think the rest of it becomes quite irrelevant.
Yes.
Now,
but flipping that, and let's not be totally negative.
Yeah.
If you get 20 games or around that out of the both of them, and especially a run at the back end of the season, then they've got every chance.
And my point was going to be, I've probably gone from having them as nailed on top 3 to being maybe top 6 and being a little bit more reserved. Yeah, but I was willing to go bold. You just
what a specific position. You've just gone, top 6.
Give me a chance. So I had them nailed on top 3. I don't know. They will make the top 6. There's a bit of a cluster. I think I've got them as 5th. I think there's a few things to work out there and a few things that could go wrong. But the squad is that good that there's no way they don't make the 6.
Would you say 5th, but wouldn't be surprised if they end up finishing 3rd?
If Sam Tompkins and Luke Keary, you could tell me now, play every game of the season, absolutely top 3.
Yeah. And
I don't
Josh,
think
you're just saying anywhere in the 12.
Yeah, they'll finish somewhere, won't they? Yeah. And they'll be good to watch.
I mean, you've come here for a definitive ranking of Super League clubs. You're getting it. I'm telling you, you're getting it. It's what we're here for. Let's move on. And knowing the alphabet as well as I do, H is next for Huddersfield Giants. Some real struggles at that club at the minute. We've talked about it the last couple of weeks in terms of injuries. People coming in, Zach Wolford from the Raiders, Liam Sutcliffe, Hull FC, George King from Hull KR, big name arrival in Tom Burgess. Actually they've signed 3 players from the Bunnies. But it's just been a pre-season dominated by not the signings, but just the people who are missing right through the spine of the team, key positions. They're doing it really tough. I already thought they were going to probably struggle and that I had them in my bottom 2 already. I've got them pretty much nailed on in there with Castleford. I'll come to you first on the Giants this time, Matt. I know it feels like we're being real negative and down at the start of this, but 2 of the 3 clubs we're talking about, Castleford and Giants, probably going to be in the bottom 3, aren't they?
Bottom 1 for me, Huddersfield this year. A few reasons. The disruption. You know, you can have a disrupted pre-season, but if your middles are the ones down, you can plan without them. When you're sorting out a new spine, you need them all in to get your combinations going, your shape. They just haven't had that opportunity because they've not been on the field. Clune turned up injured, isn't fit for the start of the season. Lollahy has missed most of the pre-season. He turned up injured. Wolford's missed 8 weeks. Cudjoe's the loose forwards missed the last month. Yeah. Guy wasn't signed till later. Well, that's your entire spine. So I think as far as pre-season goes, they are going to be so clunky. And through no real fault of anyone, it's just been unfortunate. But you've got to factor that in. You throw in the fact that Luke Robinson's the new head coach. Now, I think I've mentioned, maybe even last week, there is a trend. When a new coach comes into a club that isn't doing well and it's a bit of a project, it tends to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
So taking that into account and using that as evidence, you would argue that Huddersfield are going to get worse before it gets better. Well, they were pretty poor last year, so if they're going to go down again, you know. And I just look at the squad and I just don't think it's quite where it needs to be. I think there's also, there's already concerns about injuries elsewhere. They start the season with no centre. Tarn Milne's back in Australia. His child has arrived now. Liam Sutcliffe's out for 5 weeks. Sam Holsall's out for 8, I think. So they played Sam Hewitt at centre. Sam is a good player, but he's a back rower. I am not optimistic at all for Huddersfield this year.
But just moving the conversation on a little bit, because we're in this new, I still call it franchise because effectively that's what it is, under the IMG and the no relegation, and it's all done through your scoring. Does that afford Huddersfield a little bit of leeway? We're not going to see the panic or not? I mean, Castleford...
I'm jumping in here. No, you're absolutely not. And let me tell you why. The on-field performance is based on the 3-year average. Yeah. So as it stands, it's 22, 23, 24. Huddersfield in 22 essentially finished 5th.
Yep.
Because they finished 3rd in the league, actually, but they got knocked out of the first round of the playoffs and it counts on your playoff ranking. So now bearing in mind where they finished in IMG scoring, they were 11th. We're all anticipating that they're going to drop down the league from 5th. So their on-field score is going to drop. Their on-field average is going to drop, so then you'd expect the score to drop, so move down the rankings. Hard to see many other areas that can improve their IMG score. Maybe a bit on finance, but utilisation is not going to go up, and the stadium stuff's already there. We go back to talking about Bradford. Bradford, I think, are set for a big boost. They're going to have started the stadium out, the facilities, that'll get them the extra point. Now, whether Odsal should be getting full marks on stadium is...
That's a whole new debate.
But
completely. Yeah.
Similar to what Cass did, they were able to tick the boxes, not their fault. Bradford's on-field average is based on a 9th place finish in 2022. Well, we're all saying favourites for the championship. If they do what Wakefield did, win the champ, win the 1895.
Yeah.
on top, so they get those bonus points plus a first finish, which is going to boost their average. Throwing everything else, I think Bradford are really going to cry. Their IMG score is going to go up considerably. That puts pressure on particularly Huddersfield and Salford because they know the Bulls are going to come up. They need their scores to improve just to put them at ease, really.
Yes.
So in terms of going back to the question, will we not see panic? I'm not sure we'll necessarily see panic, but they can't just rest and be satisfied with finishing bottom two because it could, with IMG, it has the potential to backfire.
And not only Bradford, you've got Toulouse on you up there as well, haven't you? I can't remember, with 13th, 14th. I mean,
they finished 13th.
Yeah, and obviously in Super League a couple of seasons ago, you've got them on your heels as well. So there is a bit of pressure there.
Okay. I mean, the full IMG score thing, I've still got issues with some of these clubs that have got the gradings that they've got. But again, that's for another podcast and we can happily get stuck into that. In terms of Huddersfield, from your point of view, Josh, Matt's gone bottom. Where have you got him?
Second bottom for me. I just think, I mean, have you known a pre-season like this to have so many injuries? And Luke Robinson must be thinking, I mean, we mentioned it last week, it's like really bad luck, isn't it? To have all your key, your spine players out. So your pre-season training's different. When you go into the season, it's different. Then you're hoping that they sort of gel and click a little bit quicker. I mean, he must be thinking, what has he done to get that bad luck? So second bottom for me, unfortunately.
All right, okay.
We're going up the table now at least, aren't we? So bit of positivity.
We're only going up the table fractionally, probably, because the next is Hull FC. And lots of change at Hull FC. We're talking a club that Adam Pearson, previous owner, that took them to 3 Challenge Cup finals, winning 2 of them on the edge of reaching the grand final for his second time, but could just never get over the line. Going back 7-8 years now when Lee Radford was head coach. He's gone out. Andrew Thurkill come in previously, club president, I think, at Leeds Rhinos, father-in-law or to be of Richie Marler, who's now the CEO as well as director of Rugby at Hull FC. Big changes there on and off the field. There's a real energy and there's a real hope that they're going to be better this season, but nobody's getting carried away from what I'm detecting, obviously living in and around the area. I think everybody, probably the fans, would settle for being top of the next run of clubs below them leading. I think if they could get 8th, I think they'd probably snap your hands off of that the minute. Recruitment-wise, I'm not even going to list the players that have left, but let's say it's a lot. I mean, it's been added to because they've signed Jordan Abdul and now he's gone again. And we haven't even started the game. But big name recruitment in John Asiata. I mean, that could be a really key one for them in terms of bringing up that group through his leadership. Zach Hardacre, obviously been around for a long time. Oliver Holmes, Ed Chamberlain from Leigh. We've got Jordan Rapiner from the Raiders. Looking forward to seeing how he goes. Aidan Caesar's back in Super League. He's come in from West. Kate Custer's come in. There's been a really big turnaround on that squad front, Matt, with Hull FC. You've been to a couple of events down there throughout the off-season. New coach as well. I mean, John Cartwright, who joins his son, who was already there last season as a player. There does seem to be a little bit more of a bounce around the place at Hull FC, but it couldn't have got any lower. Last season was 3 wins, 2 of those. You could make a good argument they were lucky to get. They were close to a 1-win season, and it was pretty shambolic on all fronts. They can only get better.
Yeah, and when you were saying, the feeling is they'll get better, I'm like, well, there's a problem if they're going to be as bad again.
It can't get any worse.
They'll be significantly better this year. You know what? I really like the feel around Hull FC at the minute. I feel like it's a club that is doing things right. I don't think you'll maybe see that explosion and the rewards of that straight away, but it's definitely a club on the right track now. Just little things, the day-to-day things that people don't see, improving the training facilities, making it better for the players in terms of really minor things like a lunchroom and a meeting room and a downtime places, stuff like that. Players are a lot happier. they've all commented, all of them, about how much better training's been and how they feel much, much better prepared. The squad is better. The investment has given a new feel. I think there's a big effort to bring the connection back between the club and the supporters, which you will know better than anyone as just been non-existent.
No,
non-existent.
It fractured and splintered into pieces. It'd gone.
So the question is, how far up the table can they climb? I'll be honest, I don't think far.
But they don't need to go far, do they?
No, they don't. They don't. Not this year. I think they are in a battle with Wakefield for 9th. I think those two will fight out for 9th spot. I've got Hull in 9th. The reason being, I just think they've got that much know-how in there. And because they're fitter, I don't think they'll get as many injuries. I think they've got the know-how to be competitive most weeks. I don't think, they're going to compete with your Wigans and your Hull KRs, but they'll hate me saying that, won't they? But I think they can be competitive most weeks. The reason I can't put them higher is I think the halfback situation is an issue in that obviously they signed Abdul.
Yeah.
Abdul's now left. They've got Cade Cust in there. I'm not sure that that's where they want to be. With no disrespect to Cade Cust, but he was signed to be backup half, backup hooker.
It's not. They signed Abdul to be the starter.
They signed him to be backup half, backup hooker.
Yeah.
And he's now going to be the starting half. The back line just lacks a little bit of pace for me. Lewis Martin's rapid and great young player. But if you go through the rest of it, lacks a little bit of pace for me. So
just on the young players before I come to you, Josh, they have got, Dan Tomlinson, who will be joining us on the podcast soon. In fact, he would have been here today, but Hull FC are having a press day and we've left him back there to just go down and speak to John Asiata as it happens and Cartwright. On the young players, and Dan's a big advocate of this because he really likes to put the focus on youth. They have got some really promising players coming through that I think general fans, not from Hull, could probably look out and see come in and emerge this season.
Look out for Logan Moy. That's all I'll say. I think Logan Moy will have a very, very big year. I think he will play fullback over Rapiner. I think he's been that good in the off-season. They'll move Rapiner to the outside back somewhere.
There you go. And if he doesn't, I think it's M_Shaw on X or Twitter. Please let him know.
It's got a 1 on the end of it.
It's got a 1 on the end of it. Of course, it's got a 1 on the end of it because
he knows exactly how many followers he's got. He told me before this, like 15,000.
Only because he said, you've got about 3,000 followers on Twitter, which I thought was a slight underestimation.
And he snapped.
And it proved to be true. I don't know how many I've got exactly. 21,000 and something.
Yeah, he doesn't know exactly. It's 21,568.
Yeah. I think it's just 2 less than what I've got. Let's move on quickly onto the FC. Josh, you give us your thoughts.
Yes, so I'm in the same boat as Matt. I've got them 10th here, Wakefield 9th, but I could, happy for them to swap sort of. It is again the halves that I sort of have an issue with. So Cade Cust obviously was brought over here first by Wigan, went to Salford, struggled to get game minutes there. I think he played a little bit at 9, and then you've got Aidan Caesar. Is there a bit of pressure on him? Has he got a little bit of a point to prove?
Club captain. He's been appointed club captain, which I'll be honest took me by surprise. Again, no disrespect to Aidan Caesar, but I was a little surprised by that one.
Has he got a bit of a point to prove over here? Obviously, he went back down under, played for West Tigers, who finished bottom place under legend Benji Marshall. Is there a bit of pressure on him? Did we see the best of him across his first stint over here? So I think, there's lots of pressure on the halfbacks.
I could argue probably not. I think I didn't see as much as I'd liked from him during his first stint. I'd like to see a little bit more. I think there's more that he can give.
I think the thing with Caesar is there is pressure on him to navigate the team around the park, but that's what he's done all his career. So I don't think, and I do think that the pressure's off a little bit at Hull FC because
it's a free hit this season.
A little, so long as they don't finish. I think if they finish 10th, that'd be disappointing. I think if they finish 9th,
I think if they can win a fair share of home games,
that's the big one,
and not go down by 60 and 70 points. Certainly with the regularity that they have the last couple of years, but if they can avoid them massive blowouts and just give the home fans reason to have a bit of a smile on the face, I genuinely feel like that'll be progress for them. Where that won't be progress, which shows the marked contrast to the clubs of recent years, Hull Kingston Rovers fans certainly won't be happy to settle for that. Now, Matt, you've spent a bit of time swanning around Amsterdam and other places with Hull KR this off-season, and I'll come to you second on this one because I'm keen to see how many league placings Josh is going to give Hull KR, whether it's between first and fifth or something. But
top six, yeah.
yeah,
Top six.
this
Move
is a
on to
club
that
that built on obviously a frustrating Challenge Cup final defeat in Golden Point to Leigh Leopards, but built on it still by getting to a first ever grand final against Wigan Warriors and certainly no shame in losing to the all-conquering Wigan Warriors. They've signed the biggest name across all of Super League for the new season in Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, who I can attest to is one of the nicest people you could ever meet. What an absolute gentleman and a great representative for this sport of rugby league as well. Can't speak highly enough of him. The recruitment obviously is beyond just JWH. So you've got Tom Davies coming in, McAloram's coming in from Catalan, Danny Richards come in and gone out. We've got Reece Martin coming in, which is really key for a club that struggled with their kicking game and went through God knows how many kickers last season. There hasn't been a load more high-profile recruitment. I'd argue they probably didn't need as much as what they did, although they have lost Ryan Hall, Matty Stoughton, Louis Senior, as we said, Matt Parcell, Tom Opicic, George King, to name some of the bigger names. They've still got a lot of talent there, Josh. They've got a coach in Willie Peters that's really hungry to be that first person to bring a trophy to the city this century. And they still look all set to do it. The problem they've got is the Wigan Warriors. It's a little bit in the football sense of that, Liverpool had with trying to get past Manchester City, or Arsenal had with. And that's the thing that all clubs have got to deal with at the minute is building a squad that can just go that little bit better and beat Wigan in a major final, because the likelihood is you're going to have to beat Wigan to win anything this year. Can Hull KR be that club?
I've got them, just to go straight
Just
out.
a yes or no? Yes or no, Josh? Can they be that club?
To beat Wigan in the finals, no.
Right.
I've got them
Expand.
second.
Right, okay.
I've got them for Challenge Cup. Challenge Cup knockout competition. You don't know who you're going to face along the way. I've got them for Challenge Cup. It could be a repeat of last year's grand final because they are the top two teams. As you mentioned there, they've had smart recruitment. They've got Tom Davies and Michael McLaurin, so it's a bit of a winning experience there. So they've been really smart in the off-season. Reece Martin, who's been one of the best back rowers, even in Leeds' struggles in recent years. They're going to be up there, aren't they? They're going to be competing. They dominated Wigan in the fixture at Craven Park earlier on in the season last year at April. So they know how to win. It's the battle of the forwards, isn't it? When we talk about KR and Wigan, it's battle of the forwards, and then whoever wins in the forwards, they've got the outside backs there to shine.
I disagree, but carry on. Come back to that.
No, go on.
No, go on. No, I just want to go back to that point.
He wants you to set yourself up to. Then he's going to come back.
I was
with even more.
rounding off my point anyway. But go on. What is it that?
I think in the grand final, KR's pack in the first half an hour was by far the better pack. I don't think the pack is the issue for Hull KR.
No, sorry, that's not. I don't know if that's how it came across. I'm saying they are the two best packs in the competition. Hull KR Wigan.
Yeah.
It's the competition of them two, isn't it?
Sorry.
Just when I say we'll come to you, you're putting in.
Well, yeah, but we want a bit of disagreement, don't we? So
we
I
do
saw
want
an opportunity.
We do want a bit of disagreement, and I'm going to disagree with you that it's your turn to talk, and me and Josh are going to
I'll be
continue.
back in the corner.
No, in terms of the pack, though, I think, and Matt, please come in on this.
You might just go first.
No, genuinely, Matt, come in on this. Joking aside, you can probably make you can make a strong argument that Hull KR's good pack has improved. If I look at the people that have gone out and the people that have come in, I really like Matt Parcell. I think, I'd kept him around for another year. I know the body's getting older and stuff like that. But you look at who they're bringing in with Warrior-Hargreaves, with McAlorum and what he's done and the experience that he's got there, with Reece Martin and just the consistency. Forget the kicking, which is a massive addition, but just as a back rower, what he brings as well. I think they're a little bit, but a little bit better than they were last year, and they were pretty damn good last year.
I think they got the best pack in the comp.
There's your headline.
I do think they got
Stick
the
that
best
on the
pack in
back
the comp.
page.
Right, I've got KR to finish second again, and I think they'll be right in there. I do think they'll just come up short again in terms of winning the grand final. Challenge Cup, you don't know. Look at the draw. For me, yes, I think on paper they've got a better squad. But I go back to the grand final, and there were a couple of issues for me. One is that Mikey Lewis is doing all the kicking. And it meant on the fourth play, they were very easy to defend because they know that it's not going to Mikey Lewis, who's the man, isn't he? He's the one you want hands on ball. I think he needs a facilitator. And I think Tyrone May, from a passing perspective, absolutely is that. Creates the shape, the space and everything. But kicking perspective, Tyrone's not that guy.
No.
So I don't think that dynamic is just perfect, which you need to have to win a comp. You think Harry Smith, Bevan French?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great facilitator.
Your great sides have
X-factor.
that 6 and 7 that complement each other.
Bevan never needs to worry about kicking, so they can put ball in hands in whenever they want. They've got Harry Smith to sort it out. KR don't quite have that. I also think at fullback, Leigh Leopards is a great running halfback, but there were just a few clutch moments in that game where if the pass is iced, they're in. So I probably look at the spine and just the outside backs as a whole is probably where they're not up to Wigan's level. Now they brought Tom Davis in, that's to replace Ryan Hall.
Yeah.
Not much of a change there. The rest of it's the same. So while I think they've improved in areas they're already very good at, I don't think they've quite improved enough in the areas where they probably fell short in the grand final.
But they do say, whoever they are, that you probably need to lose one to win one.
For sure, get all of that, 100%. But my feeling coming out of the grand final was the battle in the middle they won. Yeah. I don't think, and now they've got players who were excellent in that position, but I think that only adds to what they were already very good at. By the way, I don't want that to come across as I think that Tyrone May and Leigh Leopards are the issue. No. I just think for the whole balance of the team, that's probably just where they need a few tweaks. Now, listen, Tyrone May might be able to step up and do that. Leigh Leopards might be able to step up and do that. Am I reading too much into the fact that I've already signed a fullback for next year in Arthur Morg? Do you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I know where you're coming from.
So I just think they'll be right up there again.
What I will say is, I think it's pretty clear, and for those that don't know me, which will probably be most of the audience out there, is very proud of my home city. What I love about this whole KR side is I agree. I think they've got the best pack in Super League, and the most important player in that pack for me is a whole lad. And it's Dean Hadley.
Oh, he's awesome.
And that's just brilliant. You look at the star names, you look at the quality, and for me, Dean Hadley's the one that makes it all tick. And to be able to say that the whole lad's at the centre of that's brilliant.
All the Hull KR players would say the same thing as well, by the way. He's the most important player.
You took the shine off one. You're making it like...
I'm just
making me sound like I'm just following the pack.
I'm just reaffirming your point.
Right, that's great. Let's move on.
First or second before we quickly move on?
Oh, yeah,
Second.
Now he's asking the questions.
Because straight away,
let's move on and rattle through a few more of these. Leeds Rhinos now is a club where I'm really struggling to make a decision on what Leeds are going to be this season. Thankfully, I'm not giving a number. I can just rip into whatever Josh says. But they've bought... Ryan Hall's come in. We've got Cooper Jenkins from the Devils, Jake Connor, obviously big name signing. Mike Acevo, who they've lost for the full season, injured. Kieran Palacino's come in from the Titans. Going out the likes of Reece Martin, who's gone to Hull KR, James Donaldson, Corey Johnson. We can go through. Justin Sangari. We can go through, there's quite a lot of changes, but we won't go through any more of them. Where do you see Leeds, Matt? Because I generally, is it just me? I don't know. It's the old, are they going to be rocks or are they going to be diamonds? I can't ever tell week to week. I feel like we're starting under Brad Arthur to at least see an identity, which I think they've missed the last couple of years. What were the Rhinos? I didn't know. I think we're seeing that now, but I still don't know how good they're going to be on a consistent basis.
Leeds will be the big improvers of the season. I've got them finishing third.
Oh, there you go.
And this is, and
he
by
just
the
comes in
way,
with headline.
by the way, this is coming from someone who has been, before anyone goes Yorkshire bias, the person who got hounded last year for saying they wouldn't make the playoffs, and I said it the year before as well. So let's just put that out there. I'm just sold on Brad Arthur and what he's doing with them. I really am. I think they've looked really good in the off season. They were making improvements at the end of the year. I think the signings add massively to what they needed. I think they will be the big improvers. I really do think that you talk rocks, diamonds. I think they'll be rocks. I think they'll be very, very hard to beat this year. Do I think they're good enough to win silverware? Not a grand final. If the Challenge Cup works in their favour, I think they've got a chance. I honestly think that they are going to be the Warrington of last year, the team that shoots up and is very, very competitive at the
Right,
top.
so we've got second and third for Matt. We've got Ulker in second. We've got Leeds in third. For you, Josh, Leeds Rhinos.
I always feel a bit flat when he comes to me after Matt because he always goes out there with like he's writing a headline with his first line. I've got them in fourth.
Stop being bland then and say something. Say something.
Well, yeah,
exciting.
just on
I'm
the fence
actually,
for 12. I've got them fourth.
I thought you'd put them lower. I was ready to go at you there.
Yeah, no, I think I watched them play Wigan in the pre-season, and I know the second half there was lots of changes, but they looked really good. And I know that from reading your pieces, you're a big fan of what Jake Connor's been doing.
Yeah.
And that sort of competition when Miller comes back.
He's a big fan of Jake. I genuinely think Matt might have a Jake Connor poster on his
just a-
bedroom
Can you
wall.
confirm?
The reality is he's just an Halifax lad, isn't he? So he naturally gets favouritism from me.
Yeah.
And he's been
Regional bias.
Don't you start, because that's what they all say anyway. We don't need you adding to it.
But he does have
The only reason he's employed me is
listen,
because I wasn't
if-
Yorkshire, wasn't
if-
it? Just to balance that out.
just to balance the team
opinions
out.
and all that. But,
If he's
you
not
know,
got a
North West will
poster,
do.
if he's not got a poster of Jake Connor on his bedroom wall, he's got a little one of them passport ones in his wallet. I can guarantee it. It was probably your screensaver on your phone.
Come on now, let's-
Anyway, all right, come on. We're going off track. Leeds going to be fourth. Why are Leeds going to be fourth? What's going to make the difference? Is it just the Brad Arthur factor? Is it the Jake Connor factor? Is it, they've signed two explosive wingers and unfortunately they've lost one of the star men. But Ryan Hall coming back, we saw last season, there might be some, miles in the legs there, but them legs still move and still take some stopping when he gets going. That's a nice little fairy tale story to add on to it as well.
Yeah, the Brad Arthur, and you mentioned it when you were starting this, it's the identity. The last few years, Leeds Rhinos, it's almost been just sort of off the cuff, let's see what we could do, we'll just play. Whereas now they'll have they have that structure. And let's not forget, they've got Brodie Croft, he's one of the best halfbacks in the game. That now has people that he can work with. They'll have a structure. They'll have the space he could play with. They'll have the fullback. He won't just be playing it and offloading it and just doing what they can do. So, yeah, I think Brad Arthur has a massive impact, and I've liked from what I've seen from him and what he's brought to Leeds Rhinos already.
Right, so we've got a fourth and a third. Let's move on to the Leigh Leopards. David Armstrong coming in from Newcastle Knights. What an athlete he looked when I saw him at that Super League media day.
You know a good athlete when you see one as well.
Yes, I know I know a good athlete when I see one. Yeah, see it in the mirror every day, Matthew. Isaac Liu coming in from the Titans. We got Ryan Brown coming in from Wigan, who you'll know. Josh, Brad Martin coming in. Lots of people coming in. Lots of people going out. Where are we at with Leigh this season? They've lost a lot of key players. When you look at, well, we mentioned a few of them going to, in fact, how many have gone to Hull FC? Asiata, Hardacre, Holmes, Chamberlain, all to Hull FC. Mickey Latelli's left. They've lost a lot of players. Can they be that trophy challenging force that they've been the last few years? Because if you want to find a team that's been consistently pushing Wigan to these trophies, it might not spring to mind straight away, but then you think about it, and it's Leigh that won a Challenge Cup final, that have got within, I know they got beat by Wigan last year, but got to that grand final eliminator. They're knocking at the door consistently. Can they knock again this season?
I'm really reluctant to do this, but I know. Oh, they've signed some good players. They have. Armstrong particularly. I think they've made.
He could be a superstar this season.
I think he's third favourite for Man of Steel already.
Doesn't surprise me. I think
he's my favourite just after that media day.
They've done a fantastic job over the years of recruiting obscure overseas players, turning them to stars, sending them back to the NRL. I think it's a fantastic recruitment model because you're more likely to recruit a better calibre because of the proof that they've got. And I think, Alex Tuatavaki, who's brought in, will be a good addition. But I just can't look past the fact, as you mentioned, the number of really good players they've lost. Kai O'Donnell, for me, was the best back row in the competition.
Leaders as well. Leaders in that. Everybody who speaks about John Asiata speaks about the presence of the man at the training ground. And even Zach Hardacre, who I know has had his issues and can be seen as the joker, but in that dressing room, he's massively respected as well.
Hardacre wasn't getting in the team much in the year. Asiata didn't play as many games as they would have liked. So will they miss them as much as maybe anticipated? I'm not sure, but could do. It's the day-to-day stuff, as you say. But Amon, O'Donnell, Moylan for the large part was great. Latelli being very consistent from. I just think for the good players they've signed, they've lost a lot of good players as well. It feels very much like Catalans last year. Catalans signed a lot of good players, but lost a lot of good players and dropped.
Yes,
it feels a bit like that to me. Still think, look, they're still going to be a decent team. They're still going to be a challenge to anyone.
Don't give me a prediction.
Okay. Don't
give me a prediction because I can't take any more of Josh's moaning about having to follow your prediction. Let's come to you, Josh. Leigh.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
I have them dropping out of the top six.
Yes.
They're one of the hardest ones when I was looking at your 12, where to put who, where. They were one of the hardest ones because it would be absolutely no surprise if they finish in the top six. But to me, again, it would be absolutely no surprise if they finish outside of the top six based on the players that they've lost, as you said, the influential players. They have added great players, and Adrian Lamb's really good with his recruitment from the NRL. And he said at the media day that he is happy to bring over players that aren't getting the shot in the NRL. Let them do what they can do over here, put their talents on display, and then go back over there in 3, 4, 5 years' time. And he's done that really well. I mean, Adrian Lamb brought over Jay Field and Ben French, who is, two of the best players in Super League currently. So, Armstrong is his third favourite man of steel, probably for that reason. And he didn't get his chance over the NRL playing under Ponga, I think, in the NRL under Newcastle Knights. But I just think there's been too many changes for them to sort of be pushing for that top six in the title again. Again, maybe a Challenge Cup run, but I know we're not predicting Challenge Cups because, you can't really predict them. That, sure. But the Super League, I see outside top six.
I think they'll be there or thereabouts around the top six. But if I had to, guess now, I think they'll just fall short.
Okay. Give us a number then.
8th.
I've got 8th as well. I should have went first then.
First time you've agreed on something, I think.
That's worrying for me.
Let's see you both where you sit on Salford. Let's come to you first. Josh, such a difficult off-season, but as Matt said in what feels like about 4 hours ago when we started this podcast, they were brave. They kept the players. We haven't seen, for all the talk of, Sneady's going to go to Leigh, for all the talk of Sneady's going to go to back to LFC or Hull KR or wherever it was mentioned, and all the other players that were linked with potential exits. They've kept hold of everybody. And the fact that they have means they've got a decent squad there. We already know they've got, in Matt's eyes, the greatest coach to walk this earth. Excuse me. But joking aside, you are a big fan of what Rowley's done there and the way he's managed to just, bring the best out of that squad. Can he do it one last time in what is going to be his last season there? Where do you see things Salford going into the new season, Josh?
I think it gets to a point with Salford where we sort of almost have to stop giving them that underdogs tag, because they're not really underdogs anymore. They've done it. They are competing. They're up there. They're playing against the best.
And they've got a quality. They've got some quality in that squad as well.
Exactly, yeah. There's some quality players in that squad, and that's why they've been doing so well. And Paul Rowley, I think they almost play on that underdog tag. They like people predicting them to be outside the top 6, playing on that, and that's maybe a part of their motivation. And Paul's a really good coach, as Matt said. I have them 5th, top 6.
What? Just quickly, Matt, before you come in, I didn't mention at the start, which I should have. Isan Masters coming in, Chris Hill from Huddersfield with some real experience in there, Joe Bullock, Justin Sangari from Leeds. Can your mate Rolly do it again?
Yeah, I'm sick to death of writing them off, so I'm not going to do it again. I always felt the pack was the issue, the front row. They've really added depth there now, which is a massive help to them. You know, squad size has always been an issue. Not as much this year, I don't think. They've got a good team. They've got a really good team, and I'm sick to death of always having them down somewhere in the bottom half and them making me look daft. So I'm just not doing it again. I've got them in the top 6. Did I put Catalans 5th? I've got Salford 4th again. I just think the emotion. Rowley's such a good man manager and a motivator as well. I think the emotion of it being his last season.
Yeah.
I just think he just finds a way to make everything a positive for Salford. Yeah, I honestly, I think they'll be 4th again. Really do.
Okay. Moving on, one team that's not added much to the squad for next season is St Helens. We've got big name arrival, Tristan Saylor coming in from the Broncos, Kyle Feltz coming from the Cowboys. You got Lewis Murphy from the Roosters. That's it. From the Saints' point of view, Lewis Dodd's gone out, Tommy Makinson, a few exits, but it's relatively the same side. What might be key is they've got Lee Breers coming in, joining Paul Wellens on the coaching staff, Eamon O'Carroll, who was doing really well by all accounts over in Catalan as well, with Steve McNamara coming in and joining the coaching staff. They feel like 2 big additions for me in terms of helping Paul Wellens. Saints fell away last year from the standards that they were setting before Wigan came and took up that baton. Can they get back up there this season, Matt?
No. It's a team a squad in transition, and I know that they're saying that they're not, but they are.
But recruitment suggests they're not in transition, because when you're in transition,
I know
you see a big shift around, and you start putting a focus on whether it be youth or you go in a different direction. The recruitment suggests there isn't really a change.
But I'll
in
tell you why
direction.
that is, because they've got a lot of high hopes on the young lads coming through, but they aren't quite there yet. Your Dagnalls, your Whitbys, obviously Delaney's already broke through. Robertson, the future looks fine. I just think that now, I don't think they've done enough to either bridge the gap with Wigan and Hull KR, and I don't even to climb the table. The age profile of that squad is quite old.
Yep.
It's a year older now. Obviously, they've brought some young lads in. Lewis Murphy, smart recruit. Tristan Saylor, even that dynamic, who plays where with him and Wellsby, they're both really better off at fullback. I'm not sure it's a perfect for good player, just not sure it quite fits right. I've just got a few questions there on them. I think there'll be a big turnover of players at the end of the year. I think they've maybe just left a few too much a year too long. And I think they'll make, I'll give my prediction, I think they squeeze into the 6th. I think they finish 6th. I think they're too good not to make the playoffs, but I don't see them being a main challenger this time.
Josh, you got any room left in your 6 for St Helens?
I think everyone's been in the 6th so far, haven't they?
I was going to say, has Matt not done his top 6 already with that number
Matt's top 6 is
My-
all
my-
but
my-
finished
my
apart
top
from his
six.
number 1.
My top 6 is done, which if anyone who can do the alphabet is going to go, what's he talking about when they work it out?
Right,
But
yeah, because you have left one big club, haven't you?
I have.
Out there. I've got Saints 7th here. I think
They've never. I'm not saying you're wrong.
I know.
We're just saying you've got a Wigan bias.
They've never not made the playoffs ever.
Yeah.
They've never not made the playoffs.
And the off-field appointments, as you say, in Leigh Leopards and O'Carroll are massive. I mean, we saw what Leigh Leopards did at Wigan. They won the Challenge Cup. He was only there for a year. Had a massive influence. Went to NRL.
The talk in the NRL was they couldn't be any more impressed.
Yeah.
It's so much so, I was quite surprised that he came back, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I think there are a few personal reasons there, family and the usual. But yeah.
But he took Brisbane Broncos, or helped Brisbane Broncos to the grand final. So they're two massive appointments, but I just think they are aging, and I think there's a couple of other squads in there that are better, and that's what will make the top six.
Okay.
On a positive spin, though, I'm really looking forward to seeing Kyle Felt play. I think he's been one of the best wingers in the NRL. Hopefully he can stay injury free, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him on the wing as Tommy Makinson's replacement.
3 to go. Wakefield, the new boys. Seems to be a real hope that they can come and not just make up the numbers, but really make a contribution and push towards the playoffs. Probably not get in there, but make a push towards the playoffs. They've signed Mike McMeekan, Tom Johnston to come. That's come from Catalan. They've got Cam Scott, Jake Truman from OFC. Ollie Russell's come in. Matty Staunton. I've got Matty Russell down twice for some reason. Oh, Ollie Russell and Matty Russell, sorry. Good recruitment to add to what they've done a lot of the hard work last year in getting ready for it. Absolutely cruised it last season in the championship. That's going to really help them with the team dynamic that they've got. They look all set for a good season, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Good in perspective.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
not talking top 4 here,
No,
but
no. They've
how often do we see a club come up into Super League?
Yeah, exactly.
Really struggle.
Yeah,
They
for sure.
don't look like they're going to struggle.
No, I think they're very much in that whole category. I think they can compete most weeks. Have they got enough to do it week in, week out and challenge for the top 6? I don't think so, but they've got a team that will be decent, that won't be a 2-point guarantee. Some very good players in there. My only concern really for Wakefield is I think they're a middle light at the minute. And also there's a lot of players in that team, mainly who've come from overseas, to be honest, who haven't played at Super League yet, so they're a bit untested. That's not to say that they won't be good enough. We just don't know. I also think given that you've got a lot of players who aren't used to playing at this level week in, week out, and we know that players can maybe do it for 5-10 games. Can they do it for a full season? That's probably where my concerns are for Wakefield.
Yeah.
But they've more than enough to, far exceed what teams who normally come up do. I've gone 10th.
The best thing about Wakefield at the minute in this new era is the positivity. We're a sport that often likes to look at the negatives, social media and whatnot. But the positivity around Wakefield, it is mega. And it's great to see. And it's what we want. We want to be promoting these feel-good, positive stories, these new eras, these clubs coming up and not struggling and being 12th. You're right, they're probably in the same position. I think we talked about with the whole sort of 9th, the 10th, the 8th that they'd be happy with. And that's great because it's the first season back, And they're doing well under IMG. I think it's just all positives at Wakefield.
All positives. You're talking about positivity. I'm really interested to see where Matt goes with this because he's only left one spot, I think, in his top 8 left. And we've still got Wigan.
Two.
And we've still got Wigan to come. But not yet, we know, because first we've got Warrington. Sam Burgess is Warrington. Ollie Leyland's come in. Dan Russell's come in from the Dragons. Alfie Johnson from Leeds Reserves, effectively. Not a lot of change people coming in. Quite a bit going out. You've got Gil Dudson, Josh Drinkwater, Mike Russell, John Bateman, lone-ended Joe Bullock. You don't seem very confident about Warrington this year, which I don't remember you telling Sam Burgess to his fit. Let me think. No, I don't think you said that last week. But you don't seem very confident. Tell us why.
Right, they got a very good spine. Very good spine.
Starting on a positive. I like it.
They have got a very good spine. I'm just not sure about... I don't think the recruitment's been great, if I'm honest. They lost Matty Nicholson. I don't think they've replaced him.
Well, as I just said, they haven't done a lot.
No, Dan Russell is pretty unproven, if we're honest, and he's essentially been brought in. Not sure about that. The other one is, and I commend them for this, by the way, but they're putting the eggs in the basket of Leon Hayes. They're making him the starting half. it'll be fascinating to see how it goes. He showed some great promise last year before his injury, but I think Josh Drinkwater is underestimated as what he does of just keeping things moving on. I think it's just a big responsibility for Leon. I think he's going to be a cracking player, really do, but maybe a year early. But it's the whole thing. You've got
it's
to
a
give it
lot of
go.
pressure to put on him.
100%.
But you'd think Sam would know the character. He's going to
100%.
know better than us. Can he handle that pressure?
And listen, by the way, you've got to give Sam credit for the amount of young lads that he just threw in last year, and not just threw in, they did really well for them.
Yeah.
So, but I just look at they've lost Matty Nicholson. I think he was a big player from. Don't think they've really replaced him. I think that then you look at the back row. There's obviously concerns about Lachlan Fitzgibbon and his shoulder, and if he goes down, I think you start looking. That's a big hit when they're without Nicholson as well.
So you've got them where?
7th. And it's just the outside, and the outside backs are good.
That's your headline one.
That's a big call.
Just to argue back at you, they brought in Luke Yates to be at that 13, which Ben Curry played at 13, to give him that depth at the back row. So
he was playing prop though.
What, last season?
Yeah.
But they have those options, don't they? You say they're not replaced Matty Nicholson. There is options elsewhere in
yeah,
there.
but they brought players in, but one of them was Bateman who left. So they've essentially
and Dan Russell, who's Papua New Guinea international, he almost might have a point to prove, and he might surprise you.
Personally, look, I might have egg on my face. I just don't think that he's a good enough replacement.
So you're going higher than 7th, clearly.
Yep, I've got him 3rd. So hopefully,
So you think they're going to be pretty much where they were last season?
I think so. Yeah,
alongside Hull Carvers, then too, trying to keep Wigan honest at the top.
Yeah, I think it's clear that Wigan and KR are above the rest of the pack, but Warrington are just behind. I think Sam Burgess is doing a lot right at Warrington. I've got them up there, and hopefully, Warrington fans will be glad with me on social media, and Matt gets a little bit of abuse on Twitter after this, hopefully. But I just,
look at him willing.
I mean, I get it in person from used to, so the best I can do is that used to get it on social media, which is all fake. But yeah, I've got them 3rd. I like what Sam Burgess is doing. You're right. There's a lot of pressure on Leon Hayes, but there's always talk of George Williams. Is he the best player in Super League in terms? Bevan French has that flair, but George Williams, consistently and for 80 minutes is one of the, if not the best player in Super League. I still think it is Bevan French, but there's an ongoing debate on the media press bench if it is George Williams.
It's Bevan French.
Well, yeah, I think it's Bevan French.
We're all in agreement because I think it's Bevan French too.
Oh, right. But yeah, there's a lot of pressure on Hayes. But yeah, I have them 3rd. I think they'll go well this year.
Okay, which brings us finally to the end. Good job we don't record on tape like in the old days, the old C60 of.
I'm pretty sure Matt had a presser.
I aren't making that Hull KR presser.
Yeah, he's missed
it's a
that
good job.
one.
It's a good job they put him on embargo, Hull KR, so I could listen to it.
He's missed that one.
Hopefully somebody's on there asking some good questions. Wigan won't take long to go through the ins and outs. There isn't really any.
Put me forward for this one. I remember this.
George Hess is coming from Oldham, but that's it. Mike Cooper. Anyone else gone out?
Isa went out, didn't he, in the end?
Yes. Will Isa's gone out in the end.
To Chelsea.
To Chelsea.
I mean,
yes, which we should have mentioned maybe in our news section. But they didn't need... I mean, the strength of any club is, as we talked, I think you can see from this last 7 hours of discussion here, is...
people have switched off by now. We're not actually talking.
No one will actually seen my Warren 7 prediction.
There's only the 3 of us still going here. Fair play to everyone who's made it to the end. No, the strength of any club's recruitment is the fact that when you're not having to do a lot, because it means you've already got it right and you tweak. Wigan don't even feel like they need to tweak it this year. They've just said, we'll just run it again. Go and beat us. The likelihood is nobody probably will. I think we're probably all in agreement with that. Josh, come to you first. Clearly they're your number one. Clearly the Matt's number one as well. They've just set a standard there, haven't they, that just people can't catch?
Yeah, they do. They have. And we talk about the squads. I think their average age of the squad's 25, 26. They didn't have to bring in that recruitment because how well they do it in their youth. I mean, you speak to Matt Peaton every week. It's John Duffy that gets the praise there, and Shane Eccles, that youth that's coming up, and they've promoted 5 from the academy in that, so that's why I didn't have to look elsewhere. They've brought George Hurst in for a little bit of that sort of depth in the back row, but yeah, it's just, I mean, it's not just 1 to 17, it's that entire squad is fantastic. There's a couple of players that will be looking to make their chance. So Taki Chan's gone out on loan to Salford. Sam Essay's not made his debut for Wigan yet. But the Wigan squad and the depth, I mean, we didn't mention it at the start, but Ethan Havard's out injured with a new hamstring injury, so he's missing the first couple of months, which is a huge blow for him and the club. But the immediate conversation is, well, they've got the backup there already. Harvey Hill's killed it this pre-season. He's been my standout of Wigan's pre-season. He played at 13 against Oldham, was really influential. A youthful side. Came from the bench against Leeds. So he's my one to watch, Harvey Hill, and that sort of presents an opportunity for him to sort of be in that 17, even, you know, the starting 13 and cement a spot. So it's just depth everywhere you look at Wigan, in the forward and the back. Then you look in the backs, you know, you got Jack Farrimond. Wigan have do it right. They bring him through. They play a certain amount of games. Jack Farrimond probably played a few more than he thought and the club thought, but he played 8 and they bring him through. Next year he might play a few more. And then when it gets to his time, he's ready for it because they've brought him through. So yeah, Wigan number 1 for me in grand final.
I mean, Josh pretty much summed it up. There's not a lot more to add there. We've already said it. The plaudits have already gone out there. They're clearly the best. It's on everybody else to try and catch up.
For sure. The thing that people probably don't realise about Wigan is how young the squad is. And that's why they can, you know, they let Cooper and Ice go, 2 of the oldest members of the squad. You've still got Liam Farrell there. Is there one other player over 30? I think it was Willie Isa. Before the start of the season, they had 2 players over 30.
I don't know if Patrick Mago's just turned over 30.
It might have been 31. I remember doing it. I think there were 2 players over 31. Isa and there was Isa and Farrell. Isa's now gone. So it's not an old squad. A lot of these lads who we're talking about, your Liam Burns, who obviously is moving on, but your Havards, your Brad O'Neills, they're not even in the prime yet.
No.
So why on earth do they need to recruit? They will be better again this year. I think they'll be better again, which is why I just don't see anyone touching them. I really don't. It wouldn't surprise me if they won all 4 again. Well, not all 4. They can't win all 4 because they're not playing the World Club Challenge. But it wouldn't surprise me if they did a treble again.
Matt's just made up a trophy for them. He thinks they're that good. They're just going to win 4 again.
Technically, they're not
going
to lose
they can't
it.
lose it. They're still world champions.
Yeah, they'll still be world champions.
Won't surprise me if they still hold all 4 trophies at the end of the year.
Right, let's just have a little rundown quickly before we finish off then, and we'll go through both of your top 12. Josh, get your list out. Make sure you don't make an absolute fool yourself by saying something different to what you said an hour ago. Give us your...
Some changes.
There was changes on the through it. Yeah, there was. Because, they change again. No, after round 1, it'll change. After round 2, it'll change.
Unbelievable.
Right,
give us your definitive 12. No, Josh, I want your definitive 12.
I'm not indecisive like you. I know what I'm going for.
Come on, we're gonna pin it up on the wall and hold you to it. Give us your 12.
So we'll go
12 to 1
if
you want.
Yeah, 12 to 1. So we've got Castleford, Huddersfield, Hull, Wakefield, Leigh, Saints, Catalans, Salford, Leeds, Warrington, KR, and Wigan.
Right, okay. Matt, you're 12 to 1.
Huddersfield at 12, Castleford at 11, Wakefield at 10, Hull FC at 9, Leigh at 8, Warrington at 7, Saints at 6, Catalans at 5, Salford at 4, Leeds at 3, Hull KR at 2, Wigan at 1.
You've done well there because I'd struggled to remember 12
Well,
teams.
I'm not indecisive like you lot and change during the show. I know exactly what I think.
It'll change again after the show.
Content in my own mind what's going on. And do you want some predictions for round 1?
I do, but not yet. Let me finish up on the season.
Right, okay.
Let's just finish up on the season. You give me the 12. I presume you're both saying Wigan to win the grand final.
Yes.
As well at the end of it. In terms of the Challenge Cup.
It's so difficult because
I know, let's just pick
bore
a
off,
name.
Matt. Just pick a name.
Pick a name. It's
All
all
KR
off.
for me.
I've got all KR as well.
got-
I just feel that they're ready to win a trophy
Yeah,
now.
100%. Yeah.
got a sneaky feeling about Salford.
Okay.
Just think. Draw,
Be a
but-
great story. Be a great story after a few months.
Maybe it is me in my own mind picking what would be the best story. But I just, Rollies last year and everything, just got a feeling.
Okay. Take me through really quickly then your winners from round 1. Starting with obviously opening game Wigan against Leigh.
Thursday, Wigan Leigh. I think Wigan will win that quite comfortably.
Yeah.
Friday night is where I've got a shock. I've got 2 shocks.
You've got Castleford being okay.
No, surprisingly not. I think Hull might beat Catalan.
You think Hull might beat Catalan? Right, okay.
Yeah.
Really? In France as well.
And Hull KR to beat Castleford, I
Yeah,
presume.
that could be anything off what I saw on Sunday. Saturday, right, Salford Saints is hard to predict because at the minute they're still under a sustainability cap.
Yeah, you don't know what team Salford are putting out.
If Salford can play the strongest team, I think Salford might sneak past Saints.
Okay.
And I've got the other game is Leeds Wakefield. I think Leeds will win that, which leaves Sunday, which is Huddersfield Warrington. Which
I refused to look then. I even tried to
I
show
don't,
you.
again, I don't need it. I do my research. Clearly, unlike some of you, Warrington will beat Huddersfield.
Okay. Just finally, what sort of season you think we're both expecting? You've both just made it clear Wigan are the standouts. Given the trophies now, we don't need to play the season. So that being said, do you still think we've got a season ahead where we might see a few surprises? Are you expecting a season where we might see a real new superstar emerge? Is there some of them squads, do you think there's a couple of people that could really come through to be the new George Williams or something like that for the season afterwards? What's the sort of expectations from yourself? I'll come to you first, Josh, for the season.
Because of what we saw last year in Wigan winning all, I expect levels from every club to go up. At least the top ones, the top 8.
Which is what we want.
We want competitive.
IMG and franchise want.
Yeah, 100%. We want competition, don't we? We want more eyes on the sport. So I think everyone will lift it. I think we're in for a really good season. Let's hope that the big talking points across the year aren't big injuries, because we want the stars playing the game.
Or disciplinary,
or exactly that,
off-field matters.
Yeah, because we want the stars, don't we? We want the big names playing the games, because that's ultimately, in the industry we want to write about the superstars. We don't want to write about so-and-so being banned or long-term injuries. Well, we want to write about the superstars.
They're good for clicks, so...
Yeah. Well, Matt's going to write about Jake Connor and Paul Rowley regardless of what's going on elsewhere. So he's covered there. But you're right, we do want the superstars. Matt, your thoughts going into the new season?
Well, you ask if there's going to be any surprises. Just because we say that the prediction is going to be like that means they absolutely won't be like that. So,
what?
Yeah.
Well, that was a waste of the last 90 minutes.
I can say it now. They've listened.
No, they stopped listening half an hour ago.
I do think I think we're in for a very interesting year for various reasons. Vegas and everything that goes on around that, which we've not mentioned, is huge. I think because of the way that clubs are signing, there's a few more obscure names. There's likely to be a gem unearthed from somewhere who's going to catapult. And Edwin Apape was a great example of that. I'm sure there'll be another one of them somewhere. I think we've got a lot more teams that be competitive in the top batch than we normally do. I do think there's a gap between the top and the bottom, but I think we're in for a great year. I always think we are. I just think and there's a lot of positivity around at the minute. The crowds are up. The viewing figures are good. I think it'll be another exciting year.
Hopefully it will be an exciting year. What we can promise you, whether we can guarantee it, is an exciting year on this podcast as well. We've got some really exciting things planned, all of which will be happening in the coming weeks and months, which will unveil. There will be more podcasts throughout the season, not just this big preview show each week. We'll have little pop-up podcasts, if you will, throughout the week as well, coming forward as we develop. And last thing for me was just thanks for being with us all throughout pre-season. It can be a long old shout throughout those winter months, but we're finally here. Super League's finally back. Hopefully we're set for a really good season. Hopefully Josh found something interesting to talk about in the weeks coming off. And just final words from you, Matt.
Final words from me, get ready. It's going to be a big year. And with that, make sure this weekend you enjoy your rugby league. Take care.